Hey Mike, how's it going? The session was good, and I've got a lot of practicing to do for the next one. But yeah, the songs are coming along quite well. How are you? And what? Yes. Where was I at? I want to hook this up. To hook this up, I need to make a little fake web browser. So actually, in here, I can try to make a connection. Let me see if I can. JavaScript sockets. Socket.io. NPN module. Oh dear. Do I go with Socket.io? And then it's like, oh, so get started now. Yeah, easy to use. Let's see, web framework. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. In order to easily win these, you need to use and install. And then there's this and all this thing and this and this. It's so easy to use and so da 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 da. Yeah, right. I can't be bothered with all of that. I'm so tired of dependencies. So what I'm going to try to do is see how I can. What was it? JavaScript read web page. In JavaScript, it gate data without using alert. Code for IE6. New I've done this before, but function HTTP get read HTML request. Damn. New start tomorrow. Yeah, should be cool. Looking forward to it. I thought I'd done this before. I think so. Last project I was on was C++. No. I want a reliable example code. Read contents of URL JavaScript. Is it really messy? It's messy. Oh, maybe I need to get that other. There's an example of a more modern API, I think. Let's see, try it. Fetch URL. So, if the URL I want to fetch, oh dear, there's going to be some issues though, I'm sure. http://www.ebay.com. Calibrate my fingers for this keyboard, please. Console log A, console log B, save it, and here we go. And let's have a look at the log and clear the log and hit refresh. Unexpected token. Where's the why unexpected token? Access to fetch from origin null has been blocked by cause policy. Oh man. How can I set up a local host 2002. Oh my God, stop hitting the wrong keys. There we go. Refresh. Connection refused. No, I'm not debugging Desmos. I am setting up I'm using the Desmos API to create my own page that connects to my project. It's trying, but I got this connection refused. The reason the connection was refused is because I'm not running my code. But if I run my game, it's now listening on this port. Connection reset. Why? He recognized incoming connection. I'm getting there. But, okay, it's cool. What actually happened is it ran the game, the project, and then this page tried to connect here. This took effort to find. This, because when you go and look Stack Overflow, which of course now these days is less, shall we say, active than it used to be, because anybody goes there and acts tends to immediately get frowned upon. So when you search for read a web page using JavaScript, you get all these old examples from like, hey, I don't even have my camera on. Nobody said anything. It's like, where do you not see you? It's like, oh, there. That's like, well, hello. Got me beer. So, yeah, you go and you look on, and of course you get lots of stuff from Stack Overflow, and they're all recycling the same out-of-date code. I suppose I could go, it's like here, using JavaScript to read, to go in here and actually put, you can use the fetch catch thing. And why bother? And get somebody who'll post and say, this adds nothing to the post. Anyway, it's amazing that. But anyway, I found it. And so what's actually happening is I'm running the code in here. There we go. Running. There it is. There's my project running. And then when I refresh this page, boom, it causes it to crash, because actually what happened is it tries to access the thing on the port, sending a URL request, which is then interpreted by the very simple code I put in the project, which tries to look up a hash which doesn't exist, which causes an assert, which causes the program to quit. But it's actually good progress, you know, because it is, the web page is actually communicating with my project. What do you mean, why is there no retro 3D hype? I don't need to hype retro or 3D. I could hype beer though. Beer, everybody's favourite sedative. For a world that's out of control, you can still buy beer. Yeah, that's interesting. So what I need to do then is look at the bit that was trying to trying to remember where I put that. It was in, no, it's in a module called values, because this already has the values module has the ability to create values which are used by the code base and can be modified over the network. And it, on network data received, I get the packet, it tries to parse it here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of it executing this code, which was just test code, so what I'm going to do is just get rid of it for the minute. If false, then we go hash end if. Retro 3D hasn't aged well. Who said it hasn't aged well? The defenders of the latest stuff. Influencers. People who hardly know one end of a game from another. I don't know. PewDiePie. I would just ignore everybody. That was the thing. That was the bit, that was the moment when I decided that all this social media thing was all just a joke. It was when it hit me that, you know, full force, that it's a lottery, get your ticket. So that's why I still do it now, but I do it in this kind of very low-key way. You know, I'm not saying, hey, I'm streaming tonight. Hello, people, I'm streaming tonight. It's like most people couldn't give a damn, you know, that you're streaming. So it's like, don't bother. It's like, I don't bother saying anything. I'm over that. There are a few of you who communicate, and so I keep coming back. So in actual fact, you know, here's the funny thing, is that, you know, you might think that I'm, you know, I'm here to entertain you. You've got it totally wrong. It's like, I'm here to be entertained by Mike. and the other guy. Oh, what's his name? Zach. Why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? Zag, thank you. Zarg. Tony. Yeah, I had a busy day. Yeah. He'd be upset now. He didn't even remember my name. The problem is I've never had to remember it because it always appears on the screen. And so I go, oh, there's, hi, Tony. Hey, Tony. I don't see it on the screen. I've never had to remember it before. Yeah, that's my... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, it's it. Yeah, you're entertaining me. I won't tell you. I don't know. Keep it secret. Right, yeah. I'm not keeping you company. You're keeping me company. Yeah. Oh dear. Moving swiftly on. Oh. Hmm? Ah. There it is. Yeah. I won't print a string. If I want to get the string, I have to do this. So this gets a line at a time. A sign on the line for a real good time. But he didn't tell us when. Those real times would be something that was really happening. That sounds like the story of Star Citizen. Said sign on the line for a real good time. It's Frank Zappa, actually, if you don't know. It wasn't very large. There was just about enough room to cram the drums in the corner over by the Dodge. It was a 64 with a mashed up door and a cheesy little lamp, with a sign on the front saying Fender Champ and a second-hand guitar. It was a Stratocaster with a whammy bar. Is that right? That's the query that has just come in. It's the query that just came in from the web page to my app. And as you can see, I'm kind of looking at it with a very puzzled expression because it's in reverse. I don't like that. I don't like that one little bit. But it's definitely in reverse. I mean, you're supposed to get the get first, and then you have a blank line by itself that you know is the end of the headers, and thus the end of the request. But in reverse, it suggests a bug in my sockets code. How can that be? When I get socket received, socket read lines, I must be socket. Let's go to socket read lines. I must be adding to tail. Yeah, why am I adding? I'm adding the list to the tail. That's wrong. I need to add a list. I need to add the list to the head. And basically, if you get all of the lines in one go, it's sort of extracting them in reverse. That's not very good. So hopefully that will fix the problem. So I'll go over here, refresh the page, and boom. Oh, okay, that's good. It's the right way around now. So what I've got now is that my app, my project, my precious, it's, you know, running this window here, and it's received a query, a web request. Prototype? What about prototypes? So what needs to happen here is that the web page is actually going, the web page is going to send a request, which is what it's doing. It sends the request for a get. But interestingly, it didn't get any error. It's probably still waiting for a reply. Yeah, so the web page is probably waiting for a reply. My prototype, yeah, I guess you could say that's what I'm working on, or working on Nugget. I'm working on crazy stuff, because only a crazy person would try to hook up a web page to that app, or embed a little web server, wouldn't they? I mean, otherwise you'd see everybody doing it, wouldn't you? It's genius. Is it genius? I don't think it's genius. It can't be genius. It's impossible. It cannot be genius. For it to be genius, there would need to be a genius around here. I don't see any genius around here. You know, the word genius originally came from, well, the Greeks and the Romans. What's a violation of terms? It's funny you say that, because I was saying that originally genius was in the ancient Greeks and the Romans, whatever, how ancient they were, but they had this concept of genius, but they were much more sophisticated than we are these days in some respects. One of them was the understanding that genius wasn't something that somebody was. Nobody was a genius. They had a genius. And the genius was something that accompanied them. Metaphorically in the walls of the studio. It's true, it's not that there was this entity in the walls of the studio of an artist, but it's a metaphor. And so this way the great artists never had a problem with their egos, because they never thought themselves geniuses. They just, you know, collaborated with the genius that visited them. But in this way meant that they could be detached from their creative successes and failures. And it's good that. But you see, these days it's like that's an old-fashioned view. These days people are called geniuses. You know, that's basically somebody does something that is considered ingenious, I suppose. They do something like that, and then they get labelled with it. So then later on they can get dragged out. It becomes this thing of you. they have to spend the rest of their life trying to, you know, live up to it. Well, they didn't have to do that back then, because it wasn't the case that anybody was a genius. It was just that they happened to have been visited by a genius, you know, and they were just, yeah, but the thing is, it's more than mythical. It's actually healthy. It's the thing is, what is genius? As soon as you do something that people have a tendency to think of as being somewhere in that domain, you immediately become an outsider. It's like not a normal person, an exception, something strange, eccentric. And it's a comforting thing, because it means that other people can then protect themselves from the idea that somehow they should be able to do whatever this genius did as well, because they can say, well, you know, they were special, they're different. And so you end up with a separation. And then the genius, ends up isolated. And that's one of the reasons why you see creative people who have successful creative people, end up destroying themselves very often. You see it happening all the time. It's really sad. Because it's very difficult to deal with that. But they had it right, Romans and the Greeks, because they, in their culture, in that way of looking at things, nobody was ever a genius. Everybody was just a human being, and it's just that some human beings were visited by a thing. And it's right. You're right, Mike. You know, it's like it's showing up for work. It's being present. It's being there to catch. It's like there was this idea. I mean, in my situation, right, there was this idea of this particular kind of football game. It was probably floating around, looking for some way to turn itself into a reality. So who's it going to find? Turn itself into, it's a way of looking at it. So who's it going to find to turn itself into reality? It's going to find somebody who worked hard at training themselves to do video game programming. You see what I'm saying? So it's like people, you work hard, you become good at doing things, and then if inspiration visits you, and that's pure luck, you're ready to catch it. You know, the precious ball arrives from somewhere, and you have the skills to take that and go, boom. But that's not being a genius. It's being present. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're on the same kind of page, Mike. But you see, there's a kind of a, I'm fascinated by the psychology of people, really am. And the problem I've got with the modern way of looking at these things, I mean, we take people who are successful and we put them on pedestals. But what we're actually doing is creating a barrier between people and success. It becomes, oh, you have to be special. I couldn't possibly do that, you know, type of thing. And so sometimes I wonder, you know, maybe if we didn't get so excited about success, and then maybe there'd be more of it. You get my point. It's like, yeah, because it'd be something so ordinary, you see. Success was just nothing special. It's, you know, the more special that we make it, then the more we get separated from it, and the more we separate those people who have it. Anyway, that's enough philosophy. I need to get on. Why don't I want to own my achievements? Because I don't. You know, let's see. We can break that down. It's like, why don't I want to own my achievements? Well, who am I? What achievements? And what does it mean to own? I was very into the idea of ownership of achievements. You know, I thought that was important. It's like Mike, I used to. I like everybody else. Think about it. It's like you write a book and you put your name on it. Woo. So I wrote this book. You write a video game. You put your name on the video game. This is my video game. You know, it's like, oh, own your own experience. Yeah, of course, it seems very natural, doesn't it? Yeah, but it turns out that it's not really true. It doesn't mean anything. You don't really own your own achievements. What does it mean to own your own achievements? It means that everybody else recognizes you for the achievements you made? Maybe. What's the use of that? Oh, yeah, I know. The use of that is that maybe if you were recognized for certain achievements, then people understand that you're good at doing certain things. And so then, you know, you may be good at them because you enjoy doing them. And so maybe you want to do them some more. And so maybe if you associate yourself with things that you enjoy doing and that you're good at, you'll get to do more of them. See, this is terribly naive because it doesn't tally with anything that ever happened in my entire life. That's not what I've seen. I actually put it to you, Mike, it's not possible to own your achievements. That's what I've actually come to learn, or my lived experiences. I don't, what does it matter? It's all in the past. Past doesn't exist anymore. you know, it's all an illusion. There's a saying, isn't there? It's like the reward for a thing done well is to have done it. You heard that one? The reward for a thing done well is to have done it. And that was the last bastion for me in my life of that, because I got, of that idea of ownership, was to say, well, at least I've got that, the reward for a thing done well is that I was the one who did it. And I don't even believe that anymore, to be honest. I don't even believe that, the reward for a thing done well. There is no reward for a thing done well. And it's actually quite good when you get to the point when you realise that there really isn't a reward for a thing done well. That thinking that there's a reward for a thing done well is something that you kind of pick up in childhood, and then eventually you have to grow out of it, because there is no reward for a thing done well. Seriously. I'm not being sarcastic or strange, it's just tell me. Can you, where is the thing? What's the reward? What's the reward for a thing done well? I mean, it was Emerson, by the way, who, I'm trying to remember, Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think. Is that it? He was the one with the reward for a thing done well is to have done it. But that particular phrase is a big clue. It's a big shining sign that basically says, hey, there is no reward for a thing done well. Because that's when eventually you learn that that is the reward. And then there's a step after it when you actually read that that is indeed the reward. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's almost like a childlike thing. I think it's what children don't, when they're born, I don't think they are seeking rewards. I don't think they seek rewards. And the funny thing about reward is that reward probably doesn't have any meaning without punishment. But maybe children, when they're born, they're just kind of neutral. And they learn all this stuff. They learn about reward and punishment, and then they seek rewards. And then it becomes a game. It's like, what can I do? What can I do to get a reward? And so then you live your life looking for rewards. There are no rewards. You just need to go and ask anybody who has been rewarded in life. And the closest you can get to a genuine reward is the satisfaction that people feel for, I don't know if they're a sportsman and person or sportswoman or whatever, and they sportsperson, and they win some, like they win Wimbledon, they play tennis and they win Wimbledon and so on, and then they get a sense of achievement for that, and I'm sure that it must feel really great. But then afterwards, what's it mean? It was just a game. It's like winning a Monopoly. It's like it doesn't mean anything. Really. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean to win Wimbledon? You win Wimbledon. It's just a big game in a Monopoly, but it's a game nonetheless. It's it. Like 30, 40, well, technically, I guess it's more like 30 years in the industry, but it's 40 years that I've been making games. And because I started off young. And not everyone's in a brutal industry. All the brutal industry has taught me is what I've just been saying. You do. I try to make good choices in the present moment. That's all I try to do. You know, I'm faced with a situation and I weigh it up and I go, well, I could behave like this, or I could behave like that, or I could do this. If I do this, the consequence is going to be that. And if I do this, the consequence is going to be that. I better decide what to do. And so I decide what to do to the best of my ability in the moment. What can you do? That's all you do. And there's no prize. It really isn't. And when you learn that, it's quite a relief, frankly. Disappointing as well, I'll be honest. It's disappointing. It's like, what? There's no prize? If I win the game, what? Even if I won the game. Yeah. Mike, with all due respect, thank you, but you know, I'm probably one of the most ridiculous people you've seen. It depends. It depends on who you ask. You know, you see one thing, other people see other things. You know, I know there are people who consider me to be ridiculous. I know because I've met some of them. You know, it's fascinating. You've got me thinking, Mike. It's like when I make a video game and it has to be played on computers, on modern TVs, and I've got no control over the lag of the TV. So the person playing the game could be playing on their TV configured in such a way that there's like 200 milliseconds of lag or whatever, and then they play my game. I mean, not just my game, but anybody's game. They play the game and say, well, this game's not very good, this game's terrible. And in actual fact, it might be that they just need to, you know, change the settings of their TV. It has a really significant effect on the playability of a game. Except these days, games are all being sort of in terms of their interactiveness, in terms of their reliance on low latency, on a fast response. Games are being designed in such a way that they don't rely on that anymore because of this problem. So, which is you know, a shame. But if I go and make a game, and I like to make games that are a bit old school, so you know, they really focus on the interactive part of interactive entertainment by making them sort of immediate like that. And they go and play my game, and they have a TV that's not set up right, and they're going to say my game is crap. I've got nothing I can do about that. I mean, I can try and educate them, but that isn't going to work. Takes a very special kind of person to admit that, in fact, the problem is their TV. You can imagine that conversation. Now, yeah, I understand you've kind of been having this issue, but you know, your TV, yeah, your TV might be the problem. You know, you can just see it now. What are you talking about? My TV? All I know is I bought this game and now I can't. Blah, blah, blah. And that is a metaphor for the situation when people assess other people. You interpret what you see in that way. And that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why you keep coming back, because you're here. I'm grateful for that, because you keep me company. And it's like, okay, but other people are not going to see that. Other people will see other things. We'll see what well, I guess what they're comfortable with seeing a lot of the time. So it doesn't matter. And I used to believe that working hard would be rewarded. I used to believe that integrity would be rewarded. I used to believe that eventually, karmically, doing the right thing would be rewarded. And I don't believe in any of that anymore. But I still try and maintain integrity, and I still try to do the right thing, and I still work hard, and it hasn't changed what I do in the slightest. I still work by the same values, but I just don't expect any reward for it. None. And that's growing up. I think I said it the other day, didn't I? My father, he said to me one time, I was, a few years ago, I was at the point of giving up. I give up, I said. I gave him some speech about how it's just entirely pointless to even try to make a better world or whatever. And he said, "Oh, you've grown up." It's like, well, thank you so much. There we are. Yes, 50-year-olds has finally grown up. It's like not trying to change the world anymore. And that gap was difficult. But then you kind of realise now I've kind of got through that. So now it's like I'm just the same. I'm still a man with a mission. I just totally expect the mission to fail. and in actual fact, that's probably quite healthy. I mean, after all, nobody really wins at life, do they? So I can win. Yay! There's a win. There's a win. You can beat a high score. No, I don't know. Get an extra life. Oh yeah, an extra life. Yeah, no, there isn't any of that really, is it? It's just, we all lose. So the only question that you've got really that you need to answer is, who do you want to be? And that's an exciting question. Who do you want to be? Isn't that exciting? Who do you want to be? Who? Not what do you want to be, or what do you want to achieve, or what rewards you want to get, what spectacular things you want to do. No. The actual question that really matters is, who do you want to be? And that who is simply how you choose to spend your day. That's who. That defines who you are. The choices you make. The choices you make every day. The moment you wake up, when you go to bed. So, whatever you want to be, that's where you do it. In the present moment. And who cares about rewards? Who cares about credit? Who cares about... So basically, what you get with this is, like he was saying, without achievements, you have no identity. And that's not true. You've still got identity. You don't need achievements in order to have identity. Your identity, who you are, is the product of I'm a living museum. What do you mean? What's a living museum? I'm a living museum. What's that? I don't know what that means. I'm a living museum. It's like, hello, everybody, everybody, come on in. Welcome to the living museum. It's like music. It means old, right? So there's this old guy, Living music. So you were saying without achievements you have no identity. It's not true. You have identity through choice. Very interesting. Well, if you here's my theory of design, right? Identity comes from constraints. It's the constraints on the possibility of who you are, what you are, no, who you are is better. The constraints and the possibility of who you are. Well, that's the constraints and the possibilities of what you do. In other words, what you choose to do or not do really defines who you are, right? So that being the case, it means that identity comes from what? It doesn't come from what you achieve or what you've achieved. It comes from the values that you have and how you apply them to your life in every present moment. That's you, Mike, and Mac Cod. Hi, Mac. Still the same shader. That's because I've gone into philosophy. It's just has to be done. Has to. Philosophy. That's that's it. That's how who is. Yeah. Okay. What do I do? I could proceed to do this, but this is fun. This is just a hobby. This isn't anything serious, And so then I'm free to go and talk about philosophy instead. So philosophy, your identity is made from the values that you apply to your life. And so achievements are not necessary for that. So without values, Mike, you have no identity. And that's why an anarchist is a nobody. Because with anarchy, by definition, if you're a real anarchist, there are no constraints upon behavior, which means there are no values, which means, in fact, there's no identity. It's kind of interesting. If you were to say to somebody, hey, they were a really good anarchist, then they wouldn't be an anarchist, because you can't actually be a really good, you don't have prizes for anarchy. Imagine prizes for anarchy, it just doesn't make any sense. That's why there isn't the Anarchy Olympics, That's why they don't have organizations to find out who's the most anarchist. In fact, even the language has a problem with it. Who's the most anarchisty? Is you can't even say it. Who is the most anarchisty? Anarchist? Or is it just anarchist? Who is the most anarchist? It doesn't sound right. Because to be an anarchist is to be nobody. No. What? It makes no... Matt Cod, I've just learned OpenGL. I just learned it. And now you come here and you come to the conclusion it makes no sense to learn it. What makes you say that? I mean, should I have learned something else other than OpenGL? The latest incarnation of. That's one of the problems, is then you have to learn the next incarnation all the time. It's like you have to stay, they're always trying to stay one step ahead of you, Anyway, Mike, look, the values come and go, achievements last forever. No, they don't. They do not last forever, because an achievement is really just a description of something. It's like an achievement is a description. Apple have already dropped it. They've already dropped OpenGL. It may be replaced by Vulkan, yeah. But I don't care. I mean, Vulkan, it's like, I don't know. I just needed to get stuff done. And so I could, on Windows. And I really didn't want to learn DirectX. Mainly because I hate long identifiers all in capitals. Now, maybe they've moved on from that a bit, but I'm still scarred from trying to use direct input 20 years ago. No, yeah, but it could not matter anymore, Mike. We confuse words with reality. That is the curse of the human condition. We get in our heads the idea of a concept. We get a concept and we want the concept. You see how horrible that is? You know, it's like, oh, to be happy, what I need is a nice, shiny car of a particular make and model. And so you can get the car and you can drive the car, and it can be quite nice to drive the car, and you can enjoy that, which is often, you know, fine. And that might be a little bit different from the other side of it, which is that people want it because they like the idea. It's like falling in love with the idea of love instead of actually being in love. We fall in love with the idea of things instead of actually the reality of them. You know. What's this? No, C++. I don't know. Cross-platform, graphics API, agnostic, bring your own engine framework, style, rendering library. Sounds good. I'm making my own. That's the point. When you reach the point where things are too meta, that is the point. It's like life gets to be too meta, then you know you probably need to meditate. Anyway, I don't know even what I'm talking about anymore. Let me get back to work. I guess I've waffled on for half an hour on the subject of nothing. Anyway, I need to don't ever meet your heroes. It never goes to plan. And if you're a hero, don't ever meet your fans. Listen to what I'm saying, though you might not believe. If you want, I can show you where my injuries still bleed. When fame and fortune takes you, there's nothing left to be. A failure in waiting, nothing left to see. A failure in waiting is all that you can be. So now that I have met you, one thing I have to say. How may I disappoint you today? I can't remember the rest of the lyrics. It's a song I wrote. You get the idea. It's called How May I Disappoint You Today? Tomorrow I walk in as some guy who had the misfortune to be successful at something and get noticed. But I say noticed. It's like, that's the thing, is you get noticed. I think we need a little bit of one of my favourite scenes from Monty Python. I think will probably sum up I think will be a summing up of how I feel about this subject, Mike. Okay, because I went and I made this game. So how not to be seen. Can I actually spell seen correctly? How not to be seen. And this, I think, is my last word on this topic. Okay, here we go. And well, whoa, skip ad.
In this picture, there are 40 people.
I can't hear this, by the
can
way.
be seen. In this film, we hope to show you how not to be
You
seen.
can plug this in. Oh,
This is Mr. E.R. Bradsaw of Mayfield Court, Black Lion Road, Southeast 5. He cannot be seen. Now, I'm going to ask him to stand up. Mr. Bradsaw, will you stand up, please? This demonstrates the value of not being seen. In this picture, we cannot see Mrs. B.J. Smegma of 13 The Crescent, Belmont. Mrs. Smegma, will you stand up, please? This is Mr. Nesbitt of Harlow, Newtown. Mr. Nesbitt, will you stand up, please? Mr. Nesbitt has learnt the first lesson of not being seen, not to stand up. However, he has chosen a very obvious piece of cover. Mr. E.B. Lambert of Holmley, the Burrows, Oswestry, has presented us with a poser. We do not know which bush he is behind, but we can soon find out. Yes, it was the middle one. Mr. Ken Andrews of Leighton Road, Slough, has concealed himself extremely well. He could be almost anywhere. He could be behind the wall, inside the water barrel, beneath a pile of leaves, up in the tree, squatting down behind the car, concealed in a hollow, or crouched behind any one of 100 bushes. However, we happen to know
I can't remember
he's in
what
the
this
water
bit was.
barrel.
Oh.
Mr. and Mrs. Watson of Ivy Cottage, Warbleston Road, Hull, chose a very cunning way of not being seen. When we called at their house, we found they had gone away on 2 weeks' holiday. They had not left any forwarding address, and they had bolted and barred the house to prevent us getting in. However, a neighbour told us where they were. And here is the neighbour who told us where they were. Nobody likes it, ever did. And this is where he lived. And this is where Lord Langdon lived, who refused to speak to us. And so did the gentleman who lived here, and here, and of course here. And Manchester, and the US Midlands, Spain, China.
I hope that was the right audio, because I couldn't hear the audio. So the problem is that I didn't avoid not being. I wasn't able to remain unseen, and that's obviously not a problem. That's a bit of a problem. Anyway, whatever. What I need to do is to get this to accept or interpret the query which comes in as a request, and then the reply that comes back to the web page. I did have a way of responding, didn't I? I already did that. I can't remember how. I need to look at my API for my network code. Socket. Socket Q send string and then send all. Oh. What's this list here? I don't need that. Looks like So since it was impossible for me not to be seen, I go the other way now and just say, well, you have to embrace the seenness of it, because I can't exactly sort of hide. A number of times I bump into people, they find out who I was, or who I was. They find out who I am. And they go, oh, I used to play your game. Oh. Yeah. So I should be able to, it says send all, and I can add to send. I think it's enough for me to, yeah, I can queue send string to a socket. So I'm going to try that, see what happens. Because I should really try to do some coding, because I can't stay too late tonight, because I need to get ready for tomorrow. Dot matrix shader, yeah, values. When I read the lines, I get this. I should probably read until I see a blank line. Yeah, if str. Oh, you can actually check if it's a null string that way. So let's see if I can. I'll just put that in there and see if when I hit refresh, how not to be seen. No, I've kind of lost. Something wants to not be seen here. Nope. Oh, he wants to buy some cheese. He's got Monty Python still going on. Here we go. So if I have this running and I hit refresh here, what do we get? Boom. Yes, am I getting this blank line? I don't think so. Yeah, maybe because it's a new line. Ah. I'm a little. What is that? So, if I reference the str, it's not detecting that it's a blank. And I was expecting it to. So, you know what? Let me print that first character of the string then. So if I say that, I can also then on here just do star str, and we'll see what happens. Hit refresh here. Ta. I don't understand. That doesn't work. That was a bit weird. Let me do between these two arrows, and then we go onto here, and I hit refresh, and it's not. It's like it's not compiling. Oh, here, it's over here. this is all classic. Because I'm dealing with Windows, thank you, it's a bill. What was that? I'm too indie for indie. Who says I'm too indie for indie? It's like I'm too, I'm always, it's like whatever it is, you know. I'm too mathematical for a mathematician. I'm well, I'm too indie for indie, you know. Dear me, I'm always too something. You see my problem, Mike. I'm always too much, always too much. So what's happened here? This is a Bill Gatesism here, a Bill Gates issue. I have to sort of, if you're watching, thanks. This is living with your legacy, because Microsoft use a CRLF, so carriage return line feed. So I'm looking at this and going, why does this appear here when it appears here before the main string, when over here I'm printing the string first and then I'm printing the character, you see? So it's reversed. It's reversed. It's doing this first, then it's doing that. You know, it's like, oh, what it does this first and then it does that. And it's like, why? How can that be? And the reason is because of Bill Gates, because it goes like this. Blah, 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 blah. Nugget value 61 git /http /1.1 carriage return line feed. Now, over here, because this is, it's sort of like probably the way I've written the code, it's not handling carriage return line feed. It's only looking for line feed because, you know, it's sort of like, it makes a lot of sense to only use one character to indicate the end of a line instead of two, and it's the Unix way of doing things. So what happens is that line feed is the thing that is the end of the line. Meanwhile, the carriage return causes the cursor to jump to the beginning of the line when it then prints the character, making it look, that's why it's overlapping. So making it look like the two things got reversed. It's really cute, isn't it? Except it didn't happen on this line because this line was so long, it wrapped around the first, then it jumped back here, you see. Isn't that cute? How did I work all that out just by looking at it? Because I've had to work this out too many times in my life. So I curse Bill Gates from time to time. And what this means is that's why it's not detecting a null string, because even though the string is empty, it does have the carriage return character. So it's like if star equal, yeah. So what I want to do is get rid of the carriage return at the end of the line. Or just because this is throwaway code, I can say if not star string or star str is equal to a carriage return, which is \r, if I remember correctly. So let's see. Hopefully now it will work. It's like, here we go. I hit refresh. Ping. And guess what? This got printed. These things here. Zzz, that's this. And so it is actually detecting that. So that was that bug, whereas in fact it carriage return. So now it successfully detects the end of the headers. The next thing I want to do is, actually let's just leave that there for a minute. Yeah, I walk my own path. Why do I walk my own? We all walk our own paths. We all walk our own paths. It's just that sometimes we like to pretend that the path that we walk is shared. And we can share our lives with people. It doesn't necessarily mean that people will walk the same path, you know. The one that's funny though is when people think that they're walking some other path, but they're walking the path that belongs to someone else. So it's like those adverts for clothes or whatever, you know, it's fashion. And you see these models all, you know, they're all this clothes stuff, you know, and it's fashion, you know. So the whole point with fashion is that you do what everybody else does, and then it's like it puts the words on the screen. Do it your way. It's like, what? Do it your way? What do you mean, do it your way? It's not do it your way. It's fashion. By definition, fashion is not do it your way. Fashion is do it our way. But you see, that's the thing. And the people say, they're walking their own path. It's like, well, of course, there's a Monty Python for that as well, and the Life of Brian. You know, and Brian's there addressing the crowd and says, we are all individuals, or you are all individuals. I don't know. We are all individuals. And there's this whole crowd of people all standing there listening to Brian speak these words. And there's one guy at the front who goes and says, I'm not. Which apparently that guy who said I'm not, so I heard, wasn't supposed to do that. It was an ad-lib. He had the courage to do what shouldn't be done because an extra shouldn't speak. And he spoke. And all the other, when he spoke, because all the other extras there knew that you shouldn't speak, because against the rules, but he did. What guts this guy had to go there and say, I'm not, which is actually one of the funniest lines. And it's like, but he had the courage to do that. I'm not. All the extras around him, they all turn around and go, shh, shh. Which just makes it even funnier. I love it. It's wonderful. That was one of those memories that make life worth living, you know. Seriously, one of those things I imagine on my deathbed. I'll be looking back at life and thinking, what were the grand moments I really love, that I remember really, really fondly? And there'll be quite a few. But well, that turned out to be much more of a scene than I expected. Hi, Tony, how you doing? My hat is fashion. He's like, yeah, whatever. What was I saying? Oh yeah, moments. I will remember that one. I mean, seriously, it's like, you remember the time that you were talking about thing and Tony's arm came on and he said, your hat is fashion. And then I threw my hat across the room and when it hit something and there was this big crash. That will be one of the moments I'll remember fondly. The Life of Brian, I'm not, I'll remember fondly. And of course, personal things I remember fondly, you know, which I won't go into. But there'll be those moments, those things. Reading Watership Down, that would be one. I read, because that's an interesting thing, because there was the film Watership Down, and I was about 13 or so at the time. And we went to the cinema and saw Watership Down, and I was rather taken by the film. I thought, wow, there's something about this, sort of struck a chord. And so I read the book, and the book, it's an amazing book. I loved it. And it's one of those books you read and it kind of affects you afterwards. So that'll be a fond memory. And then, of course, similar thing, Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. These are highlights. These are most definite highlights. Yeah. When I got my first computer, that'll be a highlight. Yeah. How did I get onto that topic? I have no idea. So, anyway, I beg to differ, Tony. This is not fashion. This is keeping my head warm. It just serves that purpose. The other thing it also does is practical, because I've got a light on, these lights in the ceiling, and then that one's in my eyes. So when I do this, not in my eyes anymore. Aha! It's actually practical. Thought you could catch me out. All right. Anyway, I should probably get back to work. This is one distracted hobbyist here. What was I doing? Okay, so I wanted to check something. What I wanted to check was if I can put a request in dot matrix, in here. If I go and say I can use a query string, how I could use a query string? I can use anything I like because it's a fake web server. So what I'm going to do is say K1 equals 0.5. So if I was to say that, when I run the app, and then I hit refresh here, that should go through and I should be able to see it. And there it is. The get K 0.5. So, in fact, all I need to do is parse this. That's not too hard to parse. I can get this communication from the web page right there. Is it too socialist? Mike, how could you? How could you possibly? I can do things to help this situation. No, it isn't. My gosh, did you know what this is? It's a baseball hat. Look, maybe I can help you with this. I think this looks pretty silly this way, actually. But it is. yeah, we get it. It's a baseball hat. Now, I'm turning this around because otherwise it's just, oh yeah, I can do it this way. I can almost pretend to be Sherlock Holmes, see? It's a baseball cap. And so, in fact, it's about as capitalist as you can get, which is kind of the irony of it, Ah, yeah, gangster. It's a Stetson. So it's an American baseball cap made by Stetson. And if they were to... oh, I don't know. It's a lottery, get your ticket. So where was I before I got distracted again? So I can get that there, and then I just need to send a... Are we all okay? Am I okay? I got the thumbs up from Mike, so he's all right. We're okay. He's like, no, I haven't become extreme left-winger. I'm not a lefty. Any Americans out there? So I think this is a Stetson. Yeah. I have to be careful. I'll try to put on one of my bad American accents. Accent. Old Americana. So okay. So what's going to happen here is that I'm really not doing much work at all. Who's pro-Brexit? Brexit. I don't need to worry about Brexit. Civilization will be is going to destroy itself probably way before Brexit has any effect on anybody. I think we've got nothing to worry about. What I can do here is, upon receiving this, send back a reply. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And I was never going to be that productive. I've had a whole day of music. A whole day of music sort of makes me. It's like being a little drunk. Socket Q send string. String. Ha 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 ha. Pro-borders, really? Well, I mean, after all, there isn't a border already. I mean, there isn't a border between America and Mexico, is there? There is. It's called the Mexican border. Have I missed something? I don't know. I'm probably saying something really silly, but that's okay. I'm sure that will please. There are a lot of people that will please somewhere. Snowboarding. Oh, I interpreted it as Hillary Clinton is pro-Mexican border now. So it just goes to show how, crap language is. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, of course. They like the borders in Europe because then, if you split your competitors up, so it doesn't take much. So that's interesting. So I'm saying, because I didn't actually send it. So I queue send string, and then I have to say socket send all, because that's the way I made this thing. So you can batch the strings that you send back. So I'm going to run that, and then I hit refresh here, and what? Yeah, I should get a reply. The reply was sent, but I'm not seeing the reply. All right. Ha 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 ha. Oh, it might be because. Oh. There's a rule for the reply. No. Do I have to? What is it? You're talking in code. I don't understand. Can I have subtitles, please? It's like, listen to you guys. Look, I'm just going to read out look, anybody looking at this. Lol. Taxi? Hi, Zag. It's too socialist for me, that hat. It's a Mao and Pol Pot cap, right? The brim is too short, though. Lol. Little Dini, gangster. Wow, okay, here's pro-Brexit. Lol. Hillary Clinton is pro-borders now, too. Must be a bug going round, lol. She is snowboarding, he meant. She was talking about Europe, actually. She said Europe is full, lol. LMAO. She can board the first ship to the North Pole. I don't understand either, I just play along. Guys. Oh, I forgot, it's spy language. Ah, of course. Hey, I hear Hillary Clinton is pro-borders now, too. She is snowboarding, he meant. She can board the first ship to the North Pole. Hey, I don't understand either. I just play along. Yes. There we go. Do you have any soft-shell crabs? Yeah. I understand now, I think. If this gets any more silly, it makes perfect. That's the perfect thing. That's exactly what I needed you to say. The right there, Mike, to save the moment. It's just to say it makes perfect sense, because that just smooths everything away and it makes everything all right again. And we really need things to be all right again. So, invalid HTTP response. Well, this is good. This means that the web page is not only able to send a request, but is also able to receive a reply and ascertain that the reply was invalid. So I need to do simplest valid HTTP response. Has been timed out. Who's been timed out for 5 minutes? So this is what we have to do. We have to first of all send an HTTP 101 200 OK, followed by a blank line, because that then says we have no more borders. Yes, we have no more borders. No, yes, we have no more headers. We have no more headers today. And then we have whatever the actual text was. Although I could say content type, text HTML. Was it text? Oh, let me know. Header response text type. What was it? Content type. What was it? Text. I can't remember. Text HTML. Text. Response header fields. Hang on. HTTP content type. Raw text. So what has been timed out for 5 minutes? Oh yeah, text plain. It's been a while. It was, of course, text plain. Yeah. Content type text plain, and then an empty blank line, and then my text. Hello. Let's try that and see what we get. So when I go to this and I go here and I refresh the page, it goes boom. Access to fetch from origin null has been blocked by cause policy. No access control allow origin header is present on the requested resource. Access control allow origin. Let's try that. I've got to dance with the browser. So let's put another header in. It's quite nice how you can just hack your web pages. I don't even need a web server. I can just hack a response in, you see. Where were we? Over here. Boom. Let's refresh. And nothing. That's a bit odd. Let me check. Oh, no, it printed A because it received some data. Now, how do I get the data? Data. Mr. Data. Response type cause URL redirected false status true. Okay. And where is the response? Yeah, headers. Well, it got the response. But frankly, and I can use that to actually have my code. My app could manipulate this web page through the response. But I'm just wondering where that was, because there should be the word hello. Get body. Body used. Okay. Proto URL. There's all this crap. Yeah, I just want to know values. That's very weird. So where does it store it? Body used. Argument. Fetch. Read. Text. Play. JavaScript. Oh. Pardon me. Oh, who timed you out for 5 minutes? Who did that? Did it think that you... I don't know. Did it do it automatically? Oh, okay. Body text. There is no text. I don't understand why. I Why doesn't it not work? Well, I can't get the value back. That was... Observatories. I don't understand. You're talking in code again. You'll be talking in... Oh, look what I forgot to do. I forgot to put a new line on the end of my hello. That could have been it. Let's have a look. No, body used, false. I didn't want you to have to wait longer than necessary. That's a bit of a weird thing to say, really. I find it really annoying that I don't seem to be able to content type. All right, let's try text HTML and try sending something HTML body HTML. Haha. It says body used false. It's interesting that I just don't seem to be able to. I'm obviously doing something wrong here. Content type text HTML, then a new line. So let me check something here. What's connection closed? Is that it? I have to understand this thing. Yeah, type, cause, response type, cause. I wonder what I'm doing wrong here. I mean, it's like I do everything okay. Right, let's try copying all of this in and see what happens. .404 not found. No, damn, that's not what I meant to say. Body used, false. Yeah, it depends. If you multiply two vectors by each other, it's unclear what that means. It could mean, like the dot product, you're saying discounting that could mean the cross product. It could mean that you scale x by x, y by y, and z by z. It depends on the library. I don't know why I can't read back. I'm doing something wrong then. Send Q, send string. All right, what happens if I just do this? It doesn't return. And I don't get, I get blocked. Well, yeah, you've got that kind of scale. So if you do that, then you've got a uniform scale where you scale each of the axes by the same amount. But you can have another scale, which is where you scale the x by x and y by y and the z by z. Ah, yeah. Yes, exactly. Which is a bit weird because it's quite unusual that you actually really need to use that. It's quite rare that that's useful. So why they've overloaded an operator with it? I would normally, if I was going to overload operator in a vector library, I would overload. Maybe because I need to do. In general, what I would do is overload the it for the dot product, because that's the most commonly yeah, it's not. There are uses for it. Sometimes it can be useful. For example, if you want to represent a non-uniform scale, you say you want to scale each axis by a different amount, it's not very often that you want to do it. Oh, you got what? Why is this not? It's not reading my response. Why? Now I'm wondering if it's a bug in my queue send string thing. So in case it is, what I will do is, because it's possible. Oh, maybe I don't support multiple lines because of the bug, maybe. So let's try that. Should be able to on there. That's there. Okay, there's a blank line, and then we say hello, and that's it. Oh, but I didn't close the socket yet. Oh, yeah. Well, that's an interesting one because, yeah, I need to flush. That's also a possibility that I need to flush the thing. Yeah, that didn't actually do anything. To explain, I just had a thought. Can I close the connection? Socket close. No. No, I didn't implement that yet, so that might explain it. Close socket. You can 2 kilobytes exe. Didn't know that. Current buffer, close socket. Oh. How big is the C++ runtime library? Connection on here. Let me open. Yeah, you can always write your own allocator. They're not that difficult to write. Yeah, C++ bloat. Absolutely. Trying to get rid of the bloat. Bloat, glorious bloat. Void. Oh, come on. Void. Socket. Close. Void. 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 There we go. Connection refused? How can the connection be refused? Oh, because there was an error. Socket closed, declared with void. Yes, you're right. It was declared with void, which was very silly. It was very silly indeed. It's busy recompiling. Be-do-be-do-do-do. That's why I'm not smiling. Be-do-be-do-do-do-do. I'm ooh, empty response. So we've got select error and some issues that I need to deal with, and I will deal with them tomorrow. I think anyway, I've got the basis of some communication going between the web. See, what's really nice about this is then I can construct web pages that control my live running app. You see, when was the first time I embedded a web server in a homebrew video game engine? Why? I believe it was 1999. It's nearly 20 years ago. Wow, doesn't time fly? Anyway, it's kind of fun. I had a good time in the studio today. We made some progress on some new stuff. And, well, we'll hopefully I will actually have something out within a few months. The first finished recording. We shall see. But right now I need to go because I've got work tomorrow. New job. And that's going to be very interesting. And so I'm going to head off. So take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. A little bit of a crazy one tonight, but it will always be crazy on a Sunday after I've been in the studio all day having fun with music. Yes. So you know the routine by now. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. See you soon. Cheers.